It literally only took me 3 months to build an aesthetic physique, as you've already seen from the thumbnail. And the advice I'm going to give you in this video is going to help you literally make as much progress as humanly possible in terms of building an aesthetic physique as fast as possible, right? So you've already seen the transformation. I went from being skinny as fuck, right? Being no muscle mass at all, to building an aesthetic physique in just 90 days of training, right? And I'm going to give you like the training, the recovery, the fucking diet, every single thing that you need to know, right? And not only that, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to tell you the mistakes I made, how to fix those mistakes, and how to absolutely fast track your progress so that you're making more progress than every single person around you in terms of this goal of building an aesthetic physique, right? So the first thing is your training. Your training is going to be super simple. And like, aside from what I'm going to tell you in this video, don't ever fucking consider any other advice in terms of training ever again if you're trying to build an aesthetic physique, right? So the training is simple. The training is going to be neck. You're going to train the 7 aesthetic muscles, by the way. The muscles I'm about to tell you are called the 7 aesthetic muscles. These are the best muscles to build a fit taper, which is like the most aesthetic physique you can build, whatever. So the muscles you're going to train are neck, upper traps, lateral delts, upper chest, abs obliques, lats, biceps. That's it. Those are the 7 aesthetic muscles, right? So in terms of training the muscles, don't ever consider anything aside of these 7 muscles. Only focus on these 7 muscles, just as I did to build this as the aesthetic physique, right? Only focus on these 7 muscles. Don't do bench, deadlifts, squats, whatever the fuck. Don't do any of this shit. Just focus on the 7 aesthetic muscles, and that's it for your training, right? And the one point that I'll actually give you in terms of training these muscles is do 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps, progressively overload every single week. I made the mistake of training these muscles too much, right? So as you can see, after 3 months, my abs were like fucking developed, right? Only training for 3 months. But the problem with that is I used to train abs like 3-4 times a week, and I used to train them for like an hour, 30 minutes, right? Just doing like 6 sets, too much volume, right? Training them a lot. So like I was getting terrible recovery, but like I was still developing them, right? So I was just doing a little bit too much. So just train them with good volume, which is just 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps, progressively overload every single week, which means just go up in the amount of weight that you're lifting in terms of like the exercises every single week, right? So lift more and more weight and do 10 to 12 reps. That's it for the training, right? The diet that I was on was almost perfect for this type of training, right? If you're trying to build an aesthetic physique as fast as possible, the diet that I was on when I did this was basically perfect, right? So the diet that I was on was like a carnivore diet, but I used to have carbs before the gym. So a carnivore diet is basically where your entire diet is constituted, is that the word? Something that starts with the C. The entire diet consists of just lean protein and a little bit of carbs. So the carbs that I had was before the gym, right? And the only fix I would have to this is have carbs before and after the gym, right? I've made an entire video that explains like the type of carbs that you take, which is like the complex and simple carbs, the times you should take them, like 2 hours for the complex carbs, and like instantly before the gym for the simple carbs, right? That's a separate video. But have basically mostly protein all around the clock, right? So in the morning you can have like eggs, have like 6 eggs in the morning, have like some cheese with that, whatever. And then you can have for lunch or before the gym, you can have oats and maybe any type of protein you want. So you can mix in some, what do you mix in for oats? You can mix in some protein powder, you can mix in some fruit, whatever, if you want it to be nicer, but have carbs right before the gym, and preferably have lots of carbs before the gym. You want to maximize on your lifts, so have a really good amount of carbs before the gym, and then after the gym, to also get the maximum amount of recovery you can possibly have also carbs after the gym, right? So that's the diet. You have mostly protein, all around the clock. So that means like after the gym you can have some carbs with protein, of course, so that's like your dinner or whatever, but mostly just lean protein, right? So that you can maximize on being lean as well, because being lean is obviously what's going to give you the aesthetic physique, right? So if you're lean, your abs will show, or the muscles that you're developing will show, right? And then the recovery The recovery is basically, I've given you most of what you need for your recovery, which is carbs right before the gym, right after the gym. This is really good for your recovery overall. You already know that you need to sleep 8 hours. You already know all the other things about recovery, right? Like some other extra tips I can give in terms of recovery that I did once in a while are things like sauna. So if you go to the sauna, that helps with recovery. And if you have like massage chairs in your gym, whatever, that also helps with your recovery, right? So this is like a quick speed run of the things that you actually need for you to build an aesthetic physique, right? And one of the most important things that you can possibly have, and one of the most important things that you can really consider if you're trying to build an aesthetic physique, is your body fat percentage, right? So you want to be lean. This is already a given, right? When I started, I was skinny, so getting leaner wasn't really a problem, right? So the two things we're really going to focus on is that our muscle mass is going to go up. So I started off at 154 pounds, and around 3 months in, I'd put on like a few pounds of muscle. I think I had put on like 8 more pounds, give or take. I was like 160 something, right? So to really go up in muscle mass, your training will suffice. Your training will suffice, your diet will suffice, your muscle mass will go up. But to stay lean, if you're 15% body fat, if you're like kind of chubby, if you're like kind of fat watching this video, my camera keeps unfocusing. But if you're kind of chubby and you're kind of fat, you might want to consider having cardio in there. If you're like skinny like I was when I started, then the amount of calories that you're going to burn when you're training and doing all these other things will probably suffice, just like how they did for me, right? So the training I've covered. Don't do stupid shit like bench press, squats, hip thrusts, whatever the fuck. Don't do any of these things. Train the 7 aesthetic muscles. Find the exercises either on this channel or like online to train these 7 aesthetic muscles that I've mentioned. That's basically going to suffice for your training. Progressively overload. That means that week in, week out, like if you're starting especially from zero, right, this is going to be so easy for you. Every week you should be able to lift a heavier weight and a heavier weight, right? So always push to just lift heavier and heavier, and push to your absolute limits that you're able to lift heavier and heavier weights each and every single week. Progressively overload, add on more weight, and you do the 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps, whatever training, right, for all these muscles that I've given you. The diet I've given you, it's already the carnivore diet that I did, right? Have lean protein all around the clock, and have your carbs before the gym and after the gym, right? To maximize on recovery and also maximize on your training, right? Because you need carbs to train, right? So you maximize on that. And then one extra tip that I can give you, include supplements in your training, right? So the supplements that I took was protein powder, creatine, and pre-workout, right? Those are the supplements I've been taking. These are the supplements I always take. Protein powder for you to really build the muscle mass. It's a obvious given, like you just have to take it, right? Protein powder helps you build up muscle mass. Creatine, you need it for recovery, you need it for strength, you need it for basically everything, right? So buy creatine, protein powder. Pre-workout is basically to make sure that you're lifting to your max potential, right? So to maximize on your lifts, buy pre-workout, right? And an extra tip I can give you for pre-workout, you want to buy a pre-workout that's like 200 milligrams, 160 milligrams of caffeine. If you're starting off with pre-workout, don't go straight into like the type of pre-workout I use, which is like this one right here. This is the type of pre-workout I use. If you can see like over here, it says like fully dosed pre-workout. Don't buy a pre-workout that says fully dosed. You can see the numbers right here, I think. Yeah, 325 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, which is like a fuck ton of pre-workout. If you're just starting off, you want to start off with like a lower dose, but this is basically just like small extra tips. Just go find a pre-workout. If you can't find one which is like 200, 160 milligrams, just don't take a full scoop, take like half a scoop to half this number right here, and that will basically suffice, right? So this is like a speed run of training and building an aesthetic physique as fast as possible. You just really want to train the 7 aesthetic muscles. You want to progress and you want to be lean. And to be lean, if you're already like a little bit chubby, just do cardio. If you're not chubby, the training and everything will suffice, and you'll be able to really put on you'll be able to put on muscle in the right places to build an aesthetic physique as fast as possible, just as I did in my first 3 months of training, right? So that's the quick speed run. Like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel.